Hello, 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 guys. Ash Borland here, personal branding coach, helping you embrace your individuality and stand out from the crowd so that you can build that profitable and, more importantly, sustainable personal brand business. If you are new to the channel, guys, make sure to smash the subscribe button and ring that bell to be kept up to date with all the latest and greatest content. If you're watching us live, throw a "Hi, I'm live" in the comments or something like that. And if you listen to us on iTunes, leave a 5-star review and also screenshot the episode that you're listening to. Tag me in at Ash Borland and post it up on social media, and I will give you a shout out. So, welcome to today's interview. In today's one, we've got another interview with an expert, which is one of my favorite things on a Wednesday. We go live. We've got a great interview with a great guest, and today's guest is Dan Knowlton. So Dan Knowlton is part of he's got a massive media company with his brother. The two of them are hilarious on LinkedIn and on social media. Their videos are one of the funniest videos I've seen on the platform. They're killing it. The guys are just great. They have a podcast that comes out called the Business Anchor Podcast. It's every weekend, and honestly, it's my guilty pleasure on my Friday run. So these guys are amazing. But to have Dan on the show is a really cool thing, because what Dan is he's an expert at marketing, but he's also an expert at content marketing and building a memorable and unstoppable brand that people have to notice. So we're going to bring Dan on the show. But first, let's run the intro. Hello. Welcome to the show.
What an intro. I love it. Thanks, mate.
Everybody says that. Yeah, it's good. You, as in, what about the intro or you intro?
Well, both. I think this is very cleverly produced. I didn't even expect it all to be, the intro there. And yeah, it's cool.
Do you know what? No one ever thinks that. I'm a dark horse, mate. And the best bit about it is I made it all myself. I did that on my phone.
That's amazing.
That's good coming from you, because I don't actually know what the hell I'm doing.
No, yeah, mate. You clearly do. You definitely do.
How are you, mate? Welcome to the show.
Good, thank you. It's good to be here. It's going to be a good one.
It is. I'm very excited to have you on. It's a weird one. I've had a few people on the show, and you're in this category now where and you can see this is probably, and the whole idea of building a personal brand where you feel like you know them because you've consumed so much of their content. Do you get that a lot? Is that what people say to you a lot?
I more get it with people I meet. Like when going to events was a thing pre-COVID, I remember going to events and speaking to people I'd been consuming their content, and I'd get some weird looks because you kind of talk to them as if, oh, you're right. How was that the other day? And they've never seen you or anything. So yeah, I get it the other way.
Really? See, I'm quite shocked. I think that's what it was. I've got you. I had Philip Van Dusen. I don't know if you know Philip Van Dusen at all. Philip's a YouTuber. And then I had Mike Kim on the podcast as well. And all three of those. So you three are like the only people I really have time to consume because I'm working, and it's great. So excited to have you on.
Yeah.
Mate, what I like to do is dive straight in because the reason why I say it's 5 questions. I only do 5 questions because I don't know if you know James Mulvaney at all. But James is a podcasting guy. He came on the show and was like, Ash, you got no structure. So shit all over my structure. So we've got a structure now.
Oh, so look at this, professional.
Look at this. Look, completely. We're like, you're going to go, of all of the million things you do, all of the speeches, you're going to go, that Ash Borland guy, he's the most professional. Look how structured he is.
I love
it. Really, not at all. So the first one I like to dive into, mate, is I like to call it your superhero origin story, but really it's just tell my listeners, tell people, and also me actually, because it'd be nice to know more about that, is how did you start on this journey? What made you decide? Give us a bit of a backstory to who you are, what you do, and why you actually did it.
Yeah, so I guess the starting point was I did a business management with marketing degree at the University of Brighton. Kind of pissed around for a few years, didn't learn anything about marketing. Eventually sort of pulled my finger out and managed to do pretty well at the end of the degree, but I still didn't learn anything about digital or social media marketing. It was just traditional. It was basically just learning, remembering things to pass a test. That's how I think of it. And then straight after that, I went to a graduate scheme at a company called Enterprise Rent-A-Car, car rental company.
Yeah.
Worked my way up the ranks there and basically learned how to manage a branch, and learned all about sales, customer service. And after a year of that, hated my life and hated my job. And I had this opportunity to work in London at like my dream job, and I had a phone interview. And I was working such long hours at Enterprise. It was like 9 p.m. I had this phone interview. The guy calls me and he's like, right, you ready for the phone interview? In my mind, I was like, no, I haven't prepped anything. I was like, yeah, let's go. He asked me one question and it's never happened to me before. I literally couldn't speak. I just completely fumbled my words, and my brain was not in a place to even be able to be in an interview capacity. And because I thought that was my one opportunity to get out of this job I hated, I hung up the phone, fell to the floor, I just cried my eyes out, and called this is like 7 or 8 years ago, called my mum and dad and was like, I hate my life, I've just mucked everything up. Quit my job at Enterprise, went crying to my parents, and then my dad runs a consultancy, and he was like, right, you either need to get a job or you can come and work for my consultancy, apply what you've learned at university, if anything, and see how it goes. And then that was like my foot in the door to start building my personal brand. I literally Googled, how do you do marketing for a company? How do you, and social media was a thing that Google said. So I started to just learn. Like, I remember reading one of the first tutorials I read was from a guy called Matthew Barbie. He's like now head of growth at HubSpot. He wrote an article which was like how to grow a social media following. And I just implemented all of the stuff he said in there to grow a Twitter following, and then eventually started to get some small customers, then got some bigger customers, started my own agency, originally called KPS Digital Marketing, now rebranded to Knowlton, and then started to get bigger, better clients, build out a team. There's now 6 of us, started to work with bigger, better brands, and now on your podcast. That's it.
There you go. That's it. The height of your career right now. It's probably
this is the peak.
I was going to say, it can only go downhill from here, Dan. I'm going to give you that right now. Like, I'm going to get a T-shirt made with that saying it only goes downhill from here for every guest that goes on. That's a great story. That again, I didn't know that. So with that, how long have you been doing this for? Then your personal brand in regards to building.
So I'm trying to think back now. So when I started working for my dad's company was probably 7 years ago. So it was probably around then, just dipping my toe in the water. And then, just from there really. And then learnt by doing and through learning through free online resources.
That's really, really impressive. That's a really nice story, because I think one of the reasons why I like to bring guests on is it's very easy to look at someone like you and think, wow, that guy is killing it, which is really, really true. And then go, I could never do that. And actually, it's really nice to hear, because actually you resonate with some stuff. I had a very similar experience where I remember looking in the mirror and being like, what the hell am I doing with my life?
Mate, until 2 years ago, we didn't know what we were doing. Like, it took us the first 4 years of actually running our agency. We were just figuring out what on earth we're doing, how we can add value. And only the last 2 years we've actually been good. In my opinion, like looking at what we're doing now, only in the last 2 years. But only in the last 2 years we've really like started building our team out, and we're actually doing really good work. It's taken all of that leg grunt work at the start, making so many mistakes to figure out what on earth we're doing, and now it's about kind of scaling up for us.
So what has been? I have all again. Sorry, James, I'm going to throw his structure out of the way now. Because I have some structure. It's going to go to it, but I wanted to ask you this: is the thing that I love about your content, I'm going to be nerdy now with this, is it is so unique and it is so funny. Like, it's so fun, like it's hilariously funny. And the two of you, and from someone who is as in myself, from a background of performing arts, is it very rare to find people create, like, that's been my hardest thing, is how dull content is online. Like, it's just mind-numbingly dull. What made you do that? Like, because it was what made you go? Because that is like, I'm trying to think of the words that I work with. Obviously, as a coach, I work with clients who come to me because of my performing background, and they'll go, "How do I do this?" But you were doing everything that if I said to someone, "Do this, do this, do that," it was perfect. How did you do? What made that happen?
So there's a bit of a story behind it, but like the overall thing is, my co-founder and I are brothers. So we've literally known each other for almost 30 years. We've taken the piss out of each other for 30 years, and we know every life story, and we know how to push each other's buttons. We know how to say something to make the other laugh. So we get each other so much because we're brothers, and literally we spend all week together. We spend almost every weekend together. we know each other inside out. So Lloyd's the funny one out of both of us. He can literally, even not when we're creating content, he can whisper something in my ear when we're in a situation, and I'll just be in hysterics because he just knows what to say to like. So I guess that's one of the dynamics. But in terms of how did we discover this? So, like I mentioned, for the first at least 2 to 3 years of running the agency, we were just figuring stuff out. We didn't know we were testing. We were writing blogs. We were making videos. We were designing stuff. We making websites, figuring out what we were doing. And with our own content, we weren't getting a lot of engagement. We weren't getting people commenting saying, "Oh, this is so good," like we do now. Until in 2017 it was, because I remember I've done a talk on this the other day, and I remember the exact video. In 2017, we tried something different. So we wanted to do a testimonials video. So like a video of our customers who we'd worked with, small customers who were saying, "Oh yeah, working with these guys is great." But we knew that that's boring. Like, who on earth would want to watch a testimonials video? People, like, no one watches them. Yeah. So our creative idea was for Lloyd and I to dress up as different characters, pretend to be customers of ourselves, and comment on working with us, but with the poking, like, tongue-in-cheek thing of pretending we didn't know us. So like, "Oh, I don't know those two, but yeah, we've worked with them," and they're really like. And we dressed up as stupid characters. We cut in those shots with the actual testimonials video, posted it, and on Facebook at the time. And for us, after getting no engagement, we got 2,500 video views organically, which doesn't sound like a lot now, but at the time, we thought we'd gone viral.
I know that feeling. That's fine.
We got like 50 comments or something, and we were like, "Oh my God, this actually works better than anything we've ever done." Actually converted business from people saying, "I saw that video. That's really creative. Let's talk. I want to work with you." So from that moment on, we were like, right, we need to stop trying to create content that we think people want to consume, copying other marketing people. Let's tap into this dynamic we've got where we're brothers, we laugh with each other all the time. We have a joke. Let's take this approach of creating entertaining content. Yeah. And it's just from then on, we've just continued to try and test a whole range of different things. And at the moment, like on LinkedIn is where we're really killing it in terms of getting traction of engagement and views, but generating business from what we're doing. Now we've got a much more strategic focus on these types of videos rather than just like posting a funny video. It's got a lot of strategy behind it to drive sales.
I think it's interesting. So I mean, you might shoot me down this and say, actually, no, you didn't. But like, to me, you come across as the guys who kind of pioneered it in the more modern space. And it seems like, and I'm sure.
No, we didn't.
I know you did. I know there's like the Old Spice and all that stuff. And I get that. But from a low level, as in like what I mean by like not like massive marketing budgets, from a two brothers.
Yeah.
I've seen your content over the last 2 years. I get tagged in. I got tagged in something with you. I don't know. I think it was you about a gaming rig or something a long time ago. Someone asked something about someone, as this is completely not to do with the podcast at all. I think someone tagged, that's how I found your content. Someone tagged me in a question you'd done on LinkedIn. And I was like, I don't know, maybe. It was a question you'd put out to somebody.
Oh, is it like, was I asking about what console best? Because I was going to get
it was a gaming rig. You wrote something, and I don't know if you know a guy called Alex Curtis, but a guy called Alex Curtis is my friend who's a marketer who tagged me in and was like, Ash knows. And that's how I found your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's a long time
ago. Yeah.
Completely sorry about that, guys. That's really relevant. But
I always forget we're on a podcast sometimes, don't we? We're just having a chat.
That's the problem, mate. That's the problem. I do it all the time. But what I've noticed is that you guys have done it, and it's obviously, which is what always happens, it works. And then there's a lot of other, and I'm not trying to say a bad thing, but there's a lot of other people trying to not replicate, but it seems to now show it works. Have you noticed that more people are going, oh, we'll try a funny video now as well?
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't want to shift on that because we get inspiration from other people, like the Dollar Shave Club video, like Old Spice videos. We get so much inspiration from, even now, a lot of the inspiration we get, like I get a lot of inspiration from TikTok videos that have popped. We add a business like twist to them and post them on LinkedIn, and they pop on LinkedIn. So yes, I've definitely seen that. But at the same time, we're getting inspiration from other places. And also something I've found is what we've consistently said to ourselves is, yes, like when we've created our first sketch video that absolutely killed it on, we didn't want to become just the guys that just produce sketch videos. Yeah. This is why we're constantly trying and testing different types of content so that we don't just become, because that can happen sometimes. Someone finds something that works really well, you do that one thing forever, and then you're just known for that one thing, and it slowly gets less and less effective. So even whilst this is working really well, we're constantly looking for new approaches to try and create content that drives business.
I think you definitely, I know what you mean with that. It's like Jason Statham, isn't it? Bloody hell, everyone, he can only do one thing now because he's a bald guy. And no one wants to be Jason Statham. I'm sure I'd want his bank account, but I don't think I'd want anything else.
Exactly, that's it.
But I think you're right. But I would say what I think you do very effective, that I've really enjoyed, is your positioning, though, because you do position not one. This is what's very interesting about strategy behind your videos, is that there's from a surface, and which is what I love. I'm really into psychology. That's like my whole thing. Everyone, my mentors are psychologists, everything that's said. And there's such a level of, like, it's such a surface level funny with such a deep strategy behind it. For example, having something like, I'm guessing, but this is like a critic thing of, you've got you and Lloyd, or pretty much always in the videos as the authority, always. So you're always there going, no, this is how you do it. Well, this is and
that sounds really clever, but we've never done that on purpose.
Oh, really? Oh, there you go then, mate. See, I'm a smart guy. Like, it sounds to me, I'm watching you going, God, you're geniuses, because from a brand authority and positioning perspective, you've got you and Lloyd going, I'm not sure that's how you do it. You do it this way, and then you've got these outlandish characters.
That's a good way of thinking about it. I think. Go on.
No, mate. Go on. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, they're like, because we're on strategy. That's really interesting. You said that. There is very strategic things we do with our content that we actually plan, like light bulb moments. So within our content, one of the things we did that literally got the most, I think it got about 15 messages of people on LinkedIn to set up calls to work with us, and we converted about 5 or 6 projects off this one video doing this one thing. We did an entertaining sketch. It was like called Marketing Channels in Real Life, and we represented different marketing channels like SEO, direct mail, social media in a job interview, and they were like trying to get the job by selling themselves as a marketing channel. And it worked really well. Lloyd wrote the script. It was cleverly written. It keeps people hooked throughout. And halfway through, we literally look at the camera, and I think I said something like, this is literally an advert for our marketing business and you're still watching, so our marketing's good. And then just carried on. And then the amount of messages we got, people saying, I can't believe it was like 4 minutes into a video and I was loving it, and it was an advert for your business. How can we do that for our business? And that light bulb moments like that, getting people to think like, oh, that's how they could help me, whilst actually enjoying a piece of content, is the really kind of clever part of, not because everyone can just produce a funny cat video and get views. Everyone can rip off other content online that's done really well and's gone viral, and you post it on your feed, but it's not helping sell your service. So it's those light bulb moments that have really helped us.
That's interesting, because I had that. I'm using TikTok for the first time. I'm enjoying it.
I saw you're smashing it on TikTok. I have seen that.
Yeah, it's doing well. I mean, like, I think I've been on like 8 weeks now, and I've got like, I think collectively I've got about 3.5 million views.
That's good.
But it's TikTok, mate. So it's a bit.
Well, no, but I don't think you should shit on it. I think that's still impressive.
It's TikTok. I've done everything. So exactly what you're saying then, because with what you're saying about that, the approach, that's actually how I've tried to approach TikTok. Is there's no point in me doing a lip sync. I don't do any of that. Like, everything is marketing. Like, because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah,
like, I say to people all the time, and which is really interesting you say this, and it's so the adverts and stuff, is that actually, like, if it's not building my business, I really don't want to do it. There's no point in doing it. Otherwise, unless you have fun out of it, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I see that, I think the biggest killer for a lot of personal brands is this idea of, when you post that piece of content, is it taking you one step towards your goal, or is it taking you one step back? Because I don't think it ever really keeps you standing still.
Yeah, I think you can fall into the trap of seeing what gets views, engagement, and just going for that. Like, again, I don't know if you've ever done this, so sorry if you have.
So shit all over me, mate. That's fine.
No, but like the whole on LinkedIn at the moment, double tap this image.
Oh no,
have you done that?
No.
And it's like, I just think things that just are trying to get engagement, but then it's like, what's the value of that? But at the same time, if you're looking from a strategic perspective at like a traditional marketing funnel that represents the journey a customer goes on, at the top of the funnel, building awareness, you don't want to be pushing sales messages that would scare people off. You want to be building awareness. So, you know, doing some kind of approach that builds that awareness in a creative way helps get attention. It's then you need to try and convert that into trust, which is kind of where it comes to next.
I think where what you've done very well, which is quite interesting. And now we're now just doing a critique of your video for 20 minutes, which is really, I never intended. James, if James listens to this, he's going to throw me at the coals, mate.
Carry on.
It's cool. I'm just, like I said, because I love them. I absolutely, because I'm so weirdly obsessive with this stuff. A guy that I know, a good friend of mine, is a guy called Leon Marcellia. I think you know Leon somewhere or another.
Yeah.
So he's become a really good friend of mine at the beginning of lockdown, and now he's great. And he just he's on a surface level. People just think I'm the guy that just puts a video up, but he's like, you're just really deep, and I analyze everything. And I would say, like, what I've loved about yours is that my gripe with social media in general and personal brand building and stuff is that you're right about this awareness, but it's the wrong type of awareness a lot of people build. So like, if you are as we talk about a gaming console, whatever, or a fitness guy or a gym, it doesn't build you as an authority, even though people think it makes them relatable. Technically, it doesn't, because it muddies the water for your message. And what I see a lot of people do, and that's which might we say bugs me, is there's a lot of people who post trending stuff, to click this, follow trains, all of this thing that doesn't actually, it might do an initial awareness, but it isn't making me aware of anything I know. Whereas with you and with Lloyd, the two of you, both your content it's really funny, so people don't think it's a video. Now, if you did, in fact, this shows you just exactly how you hook people in. Is I watched that video of you showing things in your office, and I did watch that video and think, what the fuck am I watching?
There's strategy behind that,
and I watched it twice. So
like even that video on the surface level, it was basic. That was tapping into a TikTok trend of things in something that just makes sense. We did the things in our office that just make sense. So subconsciously, right? Yes, that seems like just a fun video. What we're doing is building trust. We're showing that we're not a one-man band at home, which is nothing wrong with that, but we've got a team of experts that we work with. We subtly showed one of the features in our office, which is our client logos, working with FIFA, Nestle, Wall. So all of these things, you know, if you were a potential customer, you're watching this for fun, but you're thinking, they've worked with those companies. Wow, they've got their own office where they've got a team of people. It's subtly building that trust. So there's a lot of strategy behind things that on the surface level seem like fun.
I love it. I did the FIFA thing, but I don't really like football, mate, but I do know.
No, neither do I.
That's good. I was going to say, if we're going to go into this conversation now, just literally go, David Beckham.
No, I don't. I don't know anything about football.
I know nothing about sport. I am a very fitness-looking guy with no hand-eye coordination. So, always picked first and then kicked out the team afterwards. But the FIFA thing, actually, you talk about that did actually, I picked that up in the video. And I actually, when we talk about this now, I watched it twice because I wanted to see the second time who the brands were.
Clever.
So that's really weird. I didn't. So actually, the fact you say that that is actually why I watched. I watched it the first time, and I remember the hands because they're very interesering in a weird way. And then the second time, I was like, when you said the brands, I was like, oh, yeah. Because I've already been sent your bio. I kind of knew that, but I didn't, because I'm dyslexic. I'm a visual learner. I was like, oh, okay. Who are those brands?
So
I think that's quite interesting.
I think when we're speaking to like brands and companies we work with, one of the biggest gaps I see in their strategy and things that they miss out is the trust building elements. So there's so many people, and including when we started, we're not like amazing, but when we started, we did this. There's so many people out there that say, we offer this service to help you, whatever, but they never show any evidence that they're good at doing it, or evidence that they've done it, or who they've done it with, or how they've done it with them. And honestly, for us, I think for the first 2 years or something of our agency, we didn't have any examples of any of the work we've done. So we're out there saying, oh, we can help you with your social media marketing, but there's just no evidence to show or to build that trust. So I don't know. If just as a takeaway, if anyone's listening, hopefully people are like,
yeah, don't mean they are. There's quite a few. We're like ranked. We're like, mate, I hit 14th in the marketing charts. Bugger off.
I know. I've seen you.
And then it went right off the charts again. It disappeared. I was only here for a week.
Yeah, give us your tips, mate. We want to be getting back in the charts again. But yeah, so I think that's just such a key thing that so many businesses miss out on. They focus so much on talking about what they can do. They never provide evidence to show that they can do it well.
I'm gonna add to that and give you be open up to the audience. When I was saying about Leon, me and Leon had a Zoom catch up a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying like this year, we were chatting about like what has this year been? It's been a mad year for business for me. I have worked with people I never thought I'd worked with, professional rugby players, football players. And he went, and I said, but do you want to know the truth, mate? I said, you don't have a clue who I've worked with because I've never once told anyone.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what you just said. I said, if you go on my LinkedIn, I've got like 52 reviews. I worked with 66 one-to-one clients in 6 months.
Wow.
It's been mad. I mean, it's because I'm having a kid, so it's literally like work.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who they are.
Yeah.
Because I haven't spoken. And so when you say that, that's really true. And it's been my 2021 point is to say you need to talk about who you work with, because otherwise I get people still go, oh, what do you do? And I'm like,
yeah,
really?
It's just logical. It comes down to like, if you think of the decision, like if you're gonna buy a new mouse, right? Like a mouse for your computer, what's the decision, or a new accountant or a new cleaner for your office? What's your decision-making process that you go through to identify the right cleaner or the right mouse or the right product or the right accountant? You go through a certain number of steps. If it's asking your mates for recommendations, if it's Googling it, if it's looking who you're connected with on social. So it's, and you know, just like an Amazon product page, when you go to an Amazon product page, on that product page, there is every inconceivable piece of information you need to decide if that's the best solution to your problem. There's reviews, there's all the dimensions of all the products, there's pictures, there's people asking questions being answered. There's everything you need. You need to think of yourself, not you, I mean, just everyone listening.
That's me as well. Go for it.
And us, you know, we need to improve as well. Like as an Amazon product page, what are all the questions that people have before they're working with you? What are all the objections they have? What are all the questions they want answered? You need to be answering all those questions, providing all that information, overcoming those objections to make it as easy as possible to take them from prospect to paying customer. And, you know, we get so tied up in our day-to-day of doing what we do, we don't think strategically about that decision-making process. But I'm even reminding myself, we need to do more of this as well. When I'm saying it to you.
It's so simple. It's so simple. And yet that's what a lot of my clients, whenever we go through the branding processes, they're like, and we go through like this 8 steps thing. They're like, it's so simple, we've forgotten to do it. And I think that's the hard thing with a lot of this is it's actually not the thing. The 2 things I've kind of found this year that's been a real wake up for me, and I think it's interesting, is the bar is exceptionally low and people think it's a lot higher than it is to actually be successful in something, because most people are just literally walking around blind. You know what I mean? They're living day to day. That's blown me away. I've put people on pedestals. I've met people with these brands, and I think actually we're all just the same. That's why I was asking you, like, do you have at the beginning, do you have that kind of experience where you're like, oh my God, people come up to you? Because we put these people in this space.
It's just all in our minds. It's not.
It is.
There's nothing that makes me better than you better than me, anyone else better than anyone else. It's just the way they've positioned. This is why personal branding is so powerful, because literally the way you position yourself can influence the decisions people make. There's so, especially in the marketing space. And again, knowing this from a personal perspective of when we started, there's so much smoke and mirrors. Like I guarantee you listeners and me will look at people who we consider to be huge, like, wow, they're like massive personal brands. And then if you looked a bit deeper at like the business or what they're doing, it won't like, and some will surprise you as well. It won't be what you think it is. I think but because they've done such a great job of, and it also in the same sort of instance, people that don't have big personal brands could, and you look underneath that, they could have huge business and stuff. It's really interesting when you look at it.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's this visibility over ability. You know, people actually, the more you see somebody, the more you think, gosh, that's been one thing I've saved from doing this podcast and interviewing lots of people. Has been really weird, is getting to know people on a more, that's a big drink, Anyone who's
I like my squash.
It's also on brand with this. So I was thinking, if you're going to drink a drink that's like yellow, it's going to kill my color scheme. But we're all right. We're okay.
Good.
But I think that is a really, really good point to raise. I'd go deep into this forever, but I do want to go on to our next question before James will kill me.
Go on.
So what has been some of the high points for you during this? You've built some your personal brand. You are massively building traction on LinkedIn. As you said, that's kind of the place you're looking at right now. What have been some of the moments where you've gone, going like the you who fell on the floor and cried after that job interview? I've been there. I get that.
Yeah.
Would think, oh my God, that was never going to happen. This, like, these pinch me moments where you're like, of your personal brand journey. Obviously, the birth of your son, I'm sure, is probably one of them. But I mean, like your personal brand where you think this was never going to happen.
Yeah,
now it is.
I think again, like the thing I get the most joy out of this, I say job, it's our company, but like of what I do in our company is winning business. Like is winning deals. When a customer, when I pitch and the creative team support me and put together a pitch and I present and they, and it's a significant amount of money and they say, yes, we want to do this with you. I literally get a rush of adrenaline and call up my brother, my dad, and get well excited, like, we won the deal. So I think like the big moments have been winning bigger, well-known global brands. So like working with FIFA or Wall, going from working with small local hotels. And then I think our first kind of big brand where I literally was absolutely buzzing was Eurotunnel, which is like the underground train system from it's not a huge brand, but it's well known. I think when we got that was the first stepping stone to be like, wow, we're actually working with a proper company. And then so that's one thing. Another thing is, which I don't do anymore because of COVID, is speaking on stage to loads of people at events. So like the last one I did in Romania last year was to about 1,000 people, called Digitalium. I think the feeling of when you deliver that and then people are clapping and stuff, it makes you feel good.
How did you get into that then? So because that's quite interesting, because a lot of people I speak to, everyone's always looking, how do I transition to a speaker? Seems to be a thing that actually is a very big hurdle. My mentor is a speaker, but in behavioral economics, and so it's a very different kind of audience. It's like very dry. I sit there nerding out, but it is very dry. But like, how did that come about? Was that something that you actively went after? Was it somewhere that people just went?
So there's a story behind this. I'll try not to take up too much of your time,
mate. You use my time up. It's fine.
There's a story. So when I started out, going back to when I started working for my dad, and he was like, right, you can do marketing stuff for my company. And I was Googling, how do you do marketing? Even though I'd got a degree. The first thing he said to me was like, you need to go out there, meet people, go out and network, go to events. So I booked onto this local social media event. It was called Get Social Kent at the time, run by this lady called Zoe Cairns. And I went to the event, and there was like probably about 500 people in the audience. And there were speakers there. I'd never watched a speaker at an event. And there was David, someone, I can't remember his surname, and Zoe speaking at this event. And when they started speaking, I looked around me, right? And there's 500 people all staring at her and listening, hanging off every word she was saying. And I was like, I'm literally trying to convince people to become a customer of mine. I need to be her. I need to be on stage with everyone staring and listening to what I have to say. Because afterwards, everyone's going up to her like, oh, wow, this is so amazing. I really want to work with you and stuff. And I was like, I need to do that. So I set up a meeting with her, and I was like, how do you do what you're doing? I want to do it. and she gave me some tips, and she was like, right, start in a local chamber of commerce, do a little talk. And I remember my first talk was to literally 6 people at an after hours Chamber of Commerce event. I was sweating so much, I was shaking because I was so scared, and I couldn't speak properly because I couldn't like moderate my breathing. So I wouldn't breathe, and I'd be out of breath, so I couldn't speak.
That's the worst thing. That's from an acting point of view, like that is the worst feeling, because you start feeling like you're suffocating.
Oh, it's horrendous. Yeah,
it really is. It's like, and you do this when you do this. Anyone who's watching this, if you've actually seen it, I recorded an online course recently, and I hadn't done one. So I speak, I'm happy. I started recording this online course, and for the first time, I just started doing that. And
it can happen though. It can happen.
And I was thinking, and I'm going through, and it's like a 90-minute thing, and I'm thinking, I can't get through this. I'm going to pass out because you do get to the point where you're like, oh, okay, and you're like gasping. So
it's even like for me, it just goes to show like you were in acting previously. You come across as the most confident person ever, but it can happen, can't it? Even if you're It's
not even, to be fair, I say this all the time, it's not actually like confidence, the acting. So public speaking absolutely does not scare me at all. In fact, I can literally do it. I'm at my wedding. I don't even prepare anything because it's a skill, as in it's a skill I was taught. Like at years of uni, I was taught how to public speak, present, political speech, the whole lot. Give me like a video, like what you guys do, and that scares the shit out of me. Like how you do, I'd find that very hard to do your stuff. That'd be very hard.
Yeah, but like I say, so in terms of that small. No. This is a good tangent. But so did those small events, and then just started to basically contact events, small events, and then built it up from there. And one of the best books, if anyone wants to get into speaking, there's a book by Chris Anderson called TED Talks, Ted's Official Guide to Public Speaking. If you're into audiobooks, the guy's got an amazing voice. You know, if you listen to an audiobook and it's like a nice voice, it just makes it really good to listen to.
Yeah, I know.
You will not stop listening to this book. So and like I started to practice and get better, built relationships with other speakers, and then when they couldn't speak, they'd recommend me, and just built it up from there, really. But now obviously that's kind of fallen off the edge of a cliff because of COVID. I've done a few virtual things, but I don't know, it's just not the same, really.
It's hard, isn't it? One of my clients is a speaker. One of my clients is a motivational speaker, due to like her past. She's been on the podcast actually, Heidi.
Cool.
You wouldn't have heard it, but I'm just everyone who's listening here. Go, oh yeah, Heidi. Like, I mean,
hey, Heidi.
But she said the same, that like it's just disappeared, like, and it's not the same, and people don't want to pay the same money because it's not the same thing, and it's just a ridiculous kind of world now. So one question I do want to ask before I kind of roll into the tail end of this, so that so we can learn all about where to connect with you and stuff. But this one's really important for me, this question, and it's kind of the reason I set up the podcast. Is the question is, what have been some of the struggles that you've faced? And the reason why I do it, just to give you some context, like I started building my personal brand about 4 years ago. It feels like I have a lot of people. It feels like this year it really started to make people started to notice, but 4 years ago. But last year it was quite from an outside perspective looking in, I was getting clients, I was doing very well, and it looked brilliant from the outside looking in. And on the inside, everything in my like mental health and my thing was just falling apart. And it was really weird because for the first time in my life, a bit about you with the phone on, there's a real moment where I was like, this real Instagram versus reality. I didn't have a big following, but I had enough people who didn't know who I didn't know who they were, but they knew who I was, that kept going, everything's great. And I was like, it really isn't. Instagram and reality really hit. And so that was kind of the impetus why I started doing like this personal branding secrets, was getting people on to share, one, all the highs, but two, also like it isn't always sunshine and rainbows. So obviously be as open and as candid as you want. You don't have to share, you do have to share. But what have been some of the moments that you've, with your personal brand journey, that you've been like, this is really hard?
I guess when we started out, one of them, despite us being a marketing agency, one of the first things when starting from absolute zero is winning enough business to pay yourself to survive, basically. The first 2 years of, Lloyd and I were probably on less than minimum wage, and trying to continue to be positive and be hopeful that that's going to grow when you're still figuring stuff out and you're not entirely confident in your ability. In terms of, I'm thinking of like where we're at now, like we wanted to, and we continue to want to be even better and better, but like trying to have that confidence that you need to be patient and continue chipping away. And I guess the thing that's helped with that is just kind of reflecting on small milestones to know that you're moving the needle. Another big challenge we've had, like more of a practical challenge, is which we had a revelation in the last year, is where we spend our time. Our time is our most precious asset, and previously we've been rubbish at allocating how we're spending time. So in the last year, Lloyd and I have properly defined our roles, so we know what we're responsible for. Before, it was like, oh, we've won some work, Dan, you do that, Lloyd, you do that, we'll just figure stuff out. So now we know that I am head of sales and marketing for our business. Lloyd is the CEO. He manages the projects and the teams. I manage winning the business. I know my responsibilities. He knows his. Before that, it was just an absolute mess. We didn't have clearly defined roles for who's doing what. So that was a massive challenge we eventually overcame by actually clearly defining what on earth we do.
Hence why you're on the show now.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I like that. That's very clear, and actually something that people don't. I think the message you say there about starting, I think that's something that a lot of people have, and I think it's good to share, because I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is you could see you guys now, but you have to go through that hard.
Yeah, I think one more thing that's really, I really struggle with negative feedback. So I know this and I'm aware of this.
Me too, don't worry.
But I really if there's 100 people commenting on a video and they're all like, this is great, and one of them digs into something I've said and sort of says something negative, I'm like, it's horrible and I really don't like it. In the same way that in the past, sometimes we haven't met client expectations. In the last 6 years, there's been occasions where we haven't met client expectations, and we've obviously had to resolve that. But having that feeling of someone or a client not being happy, it literally eats away at me, and I have sleepless nights of if someone's not happy or if I haven't delivered on a promise that is expected. And I suppose the good thing is, because it eats away at me, we resolve it. But it's just it's really difficult to deal with. I still struggle to deal with negative stuff.
I think that's interesting to share, because I think I was listening to a Brendan Burchard thing on this, and he was saying everyone says you should not care what people think. He said, but that's actually wrong. It's inherently built into us, and if you don't care what people think, you're pretty much psychopath. He was like, he said this. He said there's too much Instagram, do you, and don't care what people think. And he's like, no, you should care what people think, but you should be able to take a step back and know when it's relevant, when it's not. But I think that's a very hard one for a lot of people. I still struggle. I really struggle, and I agree with you that I will. I've had that. I've had clients that aren't, like you say, it hasn't met their expectation. It wasn't fully what they thought.
Yeah.
Even though they most likely every time have been fully informed of what it was, but they go through the first session, they're like, no.
It's always going to happen. That's inevitable. That at some point,
But it ruins it, doesn't it? It ruins you. I've known that feeling of it can ruin my entire week. I'm like, not in a negative, just kind of in a, oh my God. Oh my God. So
and we're not perfect, so we're obviously going to make a mistake. We're not perfect at communicating. We're not perfect at managing expectations. So along the journey, sometimes you don't get it right.
Yeah.
And then, but it's also those moments where you feel like shit. I feel horrendous inside because I haven't done this. They're the best learning moments. I remember back to my enterprise days when I first drove a van in the wash bay, and I'd never driven a van before, and I went around the corner and just scraped the whole side of the van, and I knew to repair that it was coming out the pocket of my branch manager's profit for the month. And the way he didn't tell me off, but I just felt horrendous on the inside, and I never did it again.
No, it's like touching the iron, isn't it? You only do it once.
Exactly.
So those moments do help you with that. They really do.
They help you grow.
Yeah. But even though they suck, and to be fair, if you're getting you get the negative feedback. I just come off I was interviewed on a podcast just before this one, and I was like, it's a badge of honor, really, as a personal brand when you get your first troll. It's not nice, but at the same time, you're not creating a polarizing response if you don't. But and I remember watching an interview with Scooter Braun. He was getting interviewed, and he was talking about, obviously, managers like Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber, so big people. He was on a podcast, and he said he said the hardest thing he has with managing like those two, he said, is managing their expectations. He said is managing their, he said, I can't remember, I'm going to make up numbers here, so bear with, but he was like, he said like Ariana Grande has like 100 million followers on Instagram. Like she's one of the most followed people in the world. And he said, but 10,000 people, she'll get 10,000 ish, roughly, hate comments a day. So
mental,
10,000. He said that's a lot. 10,000 people saying how much they hate her. He said, but my job is to try and say to her, 10,000 people hate you, but 100 million people.
Yeah.
But we said, but we automatically focus on the.
I don't think humans are built to take that scale of negative feedback.
No.
Like this is why I'd be concerned for myself if we ever blew up and were massive and, you know, had huge audiences. I'd be concerned for myself because I don't know if I could, in my current state, handle that much negativity. You know, I don't know. I think it's difficult to handle. I think it's just like, how do you, you know, even if there's a million good comments, if there's 10,000, that's just mental.
It's the reason, and I do talk about this a lot, not really on the podcast, but I do when I get interviewed. It is the reason I left performing arts. I had a borderline. Looking back at it now, makes sense. It was a nervous breakdown. At the time, I was like, no, it's fine. And it was that. It was the day in, day out auditioning and people lining you up and going,
you're not good enough, or not quite, or
Mine was like, oh, you're a bit too short, oh, you're a bit too muscly, you're a bit too not too muscly, oh, your hair's too long, your hair's too short.
That sounds rubbish.
Within I did it since I was 15 and I did it all up to like 22, and by the time I was 22, I'm just an ugly blob of a mess. And it got to the point, and that's what, you know, that was my moment where I kind of was like, oh. And I think that you're right. We are not built to do that. And actually, you saying that, Dan, is quite interesting. Is my biggest fear is if I ever did actually go, and so took off. Because if I did take off, I already know I've not been able to deal with it once before. So, and then that was at such a low level, not even at a high level. That was at like enough to be paid, but it was not like
the volume of, you know, if you're getting millions of views on a video.
Yeah, because if you're gonna get millions of views, and I think that's quite interesting. That you got me thinking now. Just before we finish it off, because I'd wear it for time for you. Obviously, you're a busy guy. What are the last question I like to ask here? We'll tailor it up at the end. Is what if you were starting your personal brand now, or you were starting to actively play a part in your own personal brand, or someone is? What 3 tips would you give them?
Oh, that's a good one. What 3 tips to build a personal brand? I'd say 1 would be a bit more fluffy, but be patient. To know that it takes a lot longer to achieve what you want to achieve. I've definitely found that. 2 would be to create good content, and also look at industry leaders, what they're creating. Like, for example, if you're using LinkedIn, look at their recent activity to see what types of videos. Do your research before just creating content. Do your research to figure out what's working for other industry leaders to help that feed into your strategy. And 3, schedule a day a week to either produce content or to work on your business, or to build your personal brand, because we get tied into the rat race of winning work, delivering it. Whereas in our business, we found some of our biggest jumps up the ladder are when we actually schedule and block out time to work on our business rather than just in it.
Love it. There's some real knowledge bombs there, mate. Thank you so much.
Right.
If people want to work with you, connect with you, where can they go? Where's the best places to go?
So definitely listen to the Business Anchors podcast. My brother and I basically chat shit for about half an hour on topics and things that are going on in our business. And yeah, our website, if you want to look at some of our work, knowltonmarketing.co.uk, you can see what we got up to there. Yeah.
Amazing. Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I think we've completely thrown the structure out the window, which is great. And I've absolutely loved it. You've dropped some really, really sound advice. I think you've shared as well. It's nice to hear the story behind it, because I think, like I said, I didn't know any of that about you. So I think thank you very much for coming. This is where you can tell it's live, guys. You see, I'm trying to run that video out. We're talking, and then it's all going wrong. If you're watching this, guys, and you're listening to it on YouTube, on podcast, make sure you go and check out the video to see that I'm literally like trying to switch screens at the same time. That is the interview with Dan Knowlton there, the first time it's been aired. What an absolute legend. What an absolute legend. That guy is truly, like, if you haven't seen his content already, then, you know, I'm going to just dive through some of the comments that we've had here on the live stream so far. He's really been doing some great stuff. We've got James Mulvaney. I mentioned James at the beginning of the podcast about trying to do a structure. But, you know, James here's got, ultimately, do you care about someone's opinion on an advert, though? That's why that's the way he looks at it. Sometimes you look at comments and emails that you send out. They're just people's opinions. They aren't really likely to turn into customers anyway. Completely agree with James on that one. Realistically, are they going to be your customers? Probably not. We've got other stuff here. You must care about people's feedback, but only to learn and give better service and admit if we are wrong. If you don't care, you will not give a good service. I'm with you on that, Anne, in some ways. And in other ways, I think that some feedback is good. It's constructive feedback is really important as opposed to opinion. I think opinion is something that people get confused with. They confuse their feedback with opinion. Opinion is subjective. Feedback is not. And I think you're right. If someone gives you good feedback, my big thing with feedback is if it is unwarranted feedback, then just throw it away because it's not relevant to you. But if you've asked for feedback, be accepting of it. And those are some of the questions we've had there, guys. Brilliant live. I'd highly recommend you go and follow Dan. Check out his podcast. He's all over LinkedIn. It's been awesome to have you watching and sharing it on a Wednesday morning with me. As always, guys, make sure to smash the subscribe button, ring the bell to be kept up to date with all the latest content if you're watching us live on YouTube or if you're watching it after it's live. If you listen to us on the podcast, then screenshot this, tag me, tag Dan, share it around. And obviously I will shout you out and I will reshare it on my stories if you tag me on Instagram. And if you are trying to take your personal brand to that next level and you want to build a personal brand, then check out the Personal Brand Ecosystem Workshop. It's every Wednesday. So today, you can book on today. There are still spaces. We've got a quiet one today, which is quite nice. It's always nicer when there's a smaller group because you can get stuck in. I think it's about 5 or 6 tonight. The cap is 15 because otherwise it gets too much. But jump in if you want to. It'd be great to see you there. The links are in the descriptions here. Just www.ashbourne.com/free. And you're going to be able to see all my free content, free courses, free workshops there. As always, guys, my name is Ash Bourne, personal branding coach, helping you embrace your individuality and stand out from the crowd so you can build a profitable, but more importantly, sustainable personal brand business. I'm going to see you next time, okay? See you later. Bye.
That I hardly recognise who I am now for the work that I've done with him.
He really understood what it was that my business required in order to start taking it to the next level.
Ash has given me the basic knowledge of content creation, allowing me to feel comfortable on camera.
You're wanting someone to help you with your business and especially personal branding, Ash will help. Ash can help. He's done wonders for me and my business.
It was absolutely awesome. I came away with so much knowledge that I'm ready just to take on the world.
Recommend joining Ash Bourne's Personal Branding Mastery Program if you want to grow your business, generate more sales, or just aspire to be social media famous.